I remember once seeing Mr. John Cusack, star of Say Anything, open and put his fingers in every single sandwich that was at the craft services table.
Well, I like fingering a sandwich.
Sure, but you take it with you to the privacy of your room.
Take it to my room, and I give it a good fingering because it knows what it did.
Hello. This is MC Chris.
Don't introduce me. It's so weird.
Dana Snyder.
And
we got to introduce somebody.
And this is None of This Matters.
Why? Because it doesn't. Just ask who's behind the table, Tony.
Now,
he's giving a thumbs up, verifying none of this.
The reason why I called the podcast None of This Matters is not just because it's like the most famous Aqua Teen quote, but it's just this feeling I have about impending doom when you get to middle age. And it makes me kind of look at life like, man, I have to give less of a fuck because I give way too much of a fuck and it's stressing me out and I need to eliminate all stress from my life. So I got to learn how to not sweat the small stuff. And I'm constantly just sweating the small stuff left and right. So I'm trying to...
What's your biggest petty sweating?
Well, I mean, recycling is usually really what's stressing me out every day.
Okay.
I'm washing trash. I'm putting it I'm separating it. And I feel like, and I'm saying to myself, none of this matters. The petroleum companies...
So give me a hypothetical morning, or when do you typically do your recycling?
There's no particular time. I'm constantly separating things. I'm constantly throwing things in different trash containers.
So you just made a meal.
I see this like little triangle of arrows with a number inside, the recycling number, and it says, "This is recycling 5. This is recycling 6." What is that noise?
Probably an aeroplane.
Is that from Burbank? But I'm seeing this triangle of arrows. There's like a 5. There's like a 6. It's saying you can recycle these things at a recycling area.
Yeah.
Or you go to the recycling place, which doesn't exist. You ever try to return?
Yes.
You ever try to return grocery bags or Target bags to a Target or to a grocery store? And they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. I can tell you where the recycling place is. It's in Burbank. And it has like 20 different bins of like, this is for level, all those arrow things.
Do you split up your recycling according to the number?
No. Throw it all in the bin. That's it.
That's what I do. Cause I'm just like, fuck this. Cause I get so many little plastic ramekins of sauce and I'm constantly at the sink cleaning out these.
Rinsing them out.
Rinsing these little things out. And then the lid goes into down the drain where the garbage disposal is, and I'm putting my hand down there, having a nightmare, trying to fetch the lid out.
Final Destination movies.
Yeah. Well, I think there was an Amazing Stories where with Chunk from Goonies, and somebody put their hand in the garbage disposal and he turned it on. But I loved Amazing Stories.
I loved it. By the way, almost all of it still holds up.
Really? Yes. I think of that Mark Hamill. That one was great. The junk collector who has
everything away.
Who has the first? It's just basically like,
be a hoarder.
Be a hoarder, and but yeah, Mark Hamill collects everything, and he has like the #1 Superman, and it makes him a millionaire.
Yeah, he goes to like some fortune thing, and she says, "Don't ever throw anything away."
But I like that there are all these.
He's driving like a 1937 Packard, and isn't he like at a gas station or something? These guys like, "Whoa, Spider-Man #1."
Is it Spider-Man?
Look at this Roy Rogers lunchbox. I mean, I don't remember what it is, but like they find all this shit in the back of his car.
I like that there be guest stars popping in from other things that you saw, like Star Wars and Goonies and Lucas and Spielberg
I loved all
projects.
I love the episode that the Sid Caesar episode, Mr. Magic, where he had like a magic deck of cards.
I vaguely remember that.
He was old and couldn't do his tricks really anymore, and then he somehow obtains this deck of cards, which would like float in the air, and he did all these routines. And then I love the one also with Mabel King, the mom from Good Times. She was also Don't Nobody Bring Me No Bad News in both the Broadway and film production of The Wiz. One of the best songs of all time.
I love that tape, but I'd always fast forward through like that song that the family sings when they're all like swing back and forth at the table. I always fast forward that part. There was one called The Babysitter, that this woman had like 2 apeshit crazy kids that no babysitter could be there for. And then Mabel King shows up as old Jennifer, like a Haitian kind of voodoo-y lady who was definitely magic. She smoked cigars and she whipped them kids into shape. Every little trick they tried to play on her, she was just a little better than they were. Man, this makes me want to watch it all. But back in the day when there'd be shows like Amazing Stories that would come on, it'd be like Michael Jackson's Thriller or something where you'd run to the TV to watch this event television.
I had a friend, she was a voice director on one of the shows we did, but they did a new Amazing Stories that was on Apple, which is why no one knows they did it. But they did like
Apple doesn't want people to watch.
No, I've never met any company that advertises less for their channel.
They did a promotion for Severance, and I was like, well, they must have begged for this.
After it had an audience, I guess, right? Yeah. She was in an episode of the new Amazing Stories, and she said they were going to come out with like 10 episodes, and they ended up only coming out with like 5 because the other 5 were apparently so terrible, which I don't even know how that happens. I don't know how you make
bad
5
unairable
multi-million-dollar episodes that you fully paid for, and then still you wouldn't put them on your channel. It's not even like you need airtime.
I always think about that, especially in context of like Star Wars, where it's just like we went into the nitty-gritty. We did so much, behind the scenes research, and we did all this stuff about the fabrics, and we did all this stuff about the ships and the land, and I was like, it was a shitty movie. It was you made a bad movie.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, we worked on this for years. We had all these storyboards, we had all this concept art. It's just like they worked forever. It's like sometimes the energy is focused in the wrong direction or the wrong place.
Or it'll be like those guys, like I have a friend who's a production designer, and it helps the movie, certainly, but also like, a lot of those guys like, well, my shit was good. I don't know what the fuck they were doing with the rest of that shit in that movie, but the shit I was in charge of was stellar. Whoever wrote that script, real stinker.
I did the Q-tip audience in the pod race.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it. Nobody knew they were Q-tips.
That's right.
Everyone thought it was people. Everyone thought it was CGI.
Did you see, by the way, 3 new destinations?
Oh, yeah.
On the Millennium Falcon
ride. A lot
ride.
of Disneyland news coming at me
Spilling
fast and furious.
Out. Yes.
We watched this stuff, and we're just drooling.
Did you watch the thing at the South by Southwest?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
I like that Jon Favreau came out and he was like, guys, we're going to fix Smuggler's Run. You're going to go to Tatooine. You're going to go to Cloud City. I'm like, yeah. You know what else you should do with Smuggler's Run? Is you just make it a ride.
Yeah.
Because it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's just, why are you making me go to work in space?
Yeah. There's a reason people don't come in to Disneyland and run to the canoe ride where you have to paddle yourself.
Yeah.
Some people do. Very few.
And also the whole Galaxy's Edge thing is like, we got the new Star Wars characters that you know and love. Like, nah, I want to bump into Greedo.
I don't love any of these.
I don't like.
How about this? Sit down in this booth, you get to shoot Greedo.
Yeah.
It's like a quick draw. Who can shoot
They're
Greedo
like,
first?
we got Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 walking around. It's big news. I'm like, that should have been day one.
Well, they
what
said
are you doing?
The Imagineers originally were going to make Tatooine. And then Kathleen Kennedy was like, no, not Tatooine.
Yeah, it was going to be like Tatooine and Hoth
or like familiar places.
Yeah.
From the start, she was like, no, we want something for the future. Well, nobody wants to go to the future.
Horrible decision.
Yeah.
Although I like read the book and read the comics and
All the
I
Galaxy's Edge
knew
stuff.
that there was like a character from the book walking around, and I walked up to her and I'm like, "Your secret's safe with me." And I was doing like
Was that the blue-haired lady?
It was the person of color, the black lady
With the blue hair, right? Did she have like blue or pink or something?
It was colored hair. It was like purple or pink. But I went up to her and I was like doing a bit with her and talking to her and interacting with her. And I was like, okay, this is okay. But I'd rather you address like Leia in Return of the Jedi. Or, you know.
I don't understand. I feel like when that Rise of the Resistance first opened, she was a part of that pre-show. Because they were trying to ingrain them in the land. She wasn't.
No, I'm just saying none of it worked.
Oh.
I'm just saying none of it works. And I don't like Rise of the Resistance. I see that that's like the big ride and everyone's like running to rope drop this ride. I'm like, I don't like that ride.
What don't you like about it?
I mean, I don't like the robotic people mover that's not on a track thing. And I know that they have that in Runaway Railways, which I've come to love. I've come to love that ride and those cartoons, which I didn't like at first, but then came to love them.
I like the cartoons. The ride does not. I've just never had a good ride on it. I'm either getting into the room before the stuff happens, or it's already happened, and we're just it's like being rushed through some strange event.
I'm really just old school. It's just like put me in a dark ride that moves slowly through a dark space, a la like, you know, country fair or local state fair or something, where you're going through a haunted house ride and you're going like this, and you see something and you're going like this. I don't like doing visual stuff because no one knows what we're talking about.
Turning left.
You're turning left, you're turning right, and you see things. I think Toad's Wild Ride is my favorite ride. It's the best ride in the park because it's just like so old school. And my dream is that with villains that they have Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and they have some of that where you're seeing the scenes and then it turns into a roller coaster and you're being chased by the horse. That would be great.
I feel like the closest they've come to making one of those classic dark rides anymore is probably
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. Like that's got to be like the closest.
I hear the Japanese version is crazy.
It's great.
They have the good robots over there in Japan.
And it's trackless. That was the first one they did trackless with. But I feel like some of them, why those trackless rides fail for me, or a mark of a negative, is that the whole point of a trackless ride is that you could go anywhere. So when I see two cars in front of me and they're all going to the right and I'm also going to the right, why do we even have a trackless ride?
I don't like seeing the other cars. I think Haunted Mansion's cool because you feel like you're alone.
I don't mind it on Rise of the Resistance, or like we're supposed to be in the train thing. But like what would be better to me is like if the car in the front goes to the ocean part of Mickey Minnie while I'm in the carnival. And it's it's mixed up a little bit. Like the Mystic Manor does that. Like you may go into the weapons room, but the other car you're with goes into the Greek antiquities and stuff like that. So you
I like when it's like Clue, when you know, Clue had the multiple endings.
You have a different experience. Even if you're seeing everything, you have a different experience every time because they're in a different order that you may see them.
That being said, they've ruined Star Tours. I don't know if you've been on this ride recently, but it's like the last time we went on it, you saw Ahsoka Tano, you saw
who's that?
Andor. But these are characters of Star Wars, but they're from different eras. And then you saw at the end of it, you saw BB-8, and it was all kind of cobbled together so we could see this new Space Whales thing they had from the Ahsoka show. And I'm just like, this was so much better when it was just Boba Fett chasing me or Darth Vader chasing me through one planet. And you don't know what planet you're going to go to. But like the way they have it now, they've cobbled together like 3 different adventures. And they got characters from different eras that don't match up. And I'm like, man, whoever did this knows about as much about Star Wars as you do, Dana.
Whoa, that knowledgeable, huh? Pretty cool. Wow, they're finally getting some experts in there. All I remember is like the last time we went on it, there was the takeoff segment where you sort of either had like Darth Vader or you were like in a hangar.
Yeah.
And then you would fly away. And then I think like you kind of were then you went to like a planet, and you would get some message from like Yoda or one of like a couple different people that there was like a spy on the ship or something.
Yeah.
And then there was some third segment, but I don't remember what it was either. Like the bulk of it was that middle one.
Yeah.
Where you'd go to wherever. You're in the pod race or you go to Tatooine.
I mean, that's what the cue is. It's like we are visiting different lands.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of the ride. And
so
now,
you're saying they're going multiple places.
Now we're just like, and now we're here. And now we've jumped 50 years into the future, and now we're here. And now we're going to go 20 years into the past, and now we're here. And it's just like, man, this is not canon.
I mean, do you think most people would be aware of it?
I mean,
you're aware.
I'm the only one in the room speaking English. So, you know.
What's the matter with you people? Don't you realize?
Can't you see what's happening here? Don't you see what's happening? One thing I'm really looking forward to this summer is the new Universal Park.
Oh,
so excited!
You're gonna go,
and
right?
I just saw a TikTok that said that they're going to get rid of Simpsons Land because it's up in 2028, and they're going to replace it with Dark Legacy.
What's Dark Legacy?
It's Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy, Wolfman.
Oh,
you enter like
you mean here,
and you enter a European village. You actually see a windmill that's on fire,
like at the new one.
Yeah, and so it might come here, which would be great.
That'd be great.
Although the Universal here it's got so much working against it because basically their only option is to destroy Universal Studios, like the lots or the sound stages, which is probably a viable option to them because nobody's filming in LA anymore.
I think they tore down the one that was like the historic one that still had the set of Phantom of the Opera in it because it was like built into the walls, sort of like that first one you would go by when you went down the hill, like when the tram, the tour kind of. I think they tore that down for Mario. Land. Yeah,
it's basically it's an amusement park on a hill.
Yeah, it's like picture a steep hillside. Then somebody says, build Disneyland on that steep hill.
They have no place to like make an amusement park, but they're gonna have to just get rid of these sound stages and move stuff in there because it's really a bad amusement park.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have enough things on either side to entertain fully like adults or kids. It's kind of like some of the stuff is too intense for little kids.
I feel like there's two rides. There's
Harry Potter.
No, Jurassic Park and Mummy.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
Well, now you got Mario Brothers.
Yes. But that you got to wait forever. And it's one of these games where it's like, go to work. Play this game. It's like Toy Story Mania.
I haven't been on it. I have no clue.
I hated Toy Story Mania. You know?
It's either they're quote unquote.
You're on a couch with wheels on it, and it just drives you in front of different TVs.
What I hate by is, you wait, as you're waiting in line, you walk by a $300 million animatronic that can take its own ear off of Mr. Potato Head. That's the line, the queue. Then you get on the ride, and you're just looking at painted flats and
the queue, I guess, in Japan is supposed to be amazing for Toy Story Mania.
The outside looks... I didn't go in the queue. The outside looks cool. It looks like Coney Island from turn of the 1900 or whatever. I didn't go on it because I was like, there's so many other rides that are nothing like. And I mean, I remember when I went there, both times I went there, people were sprinting to get to that Midway Mania ride. And I was like, suckers, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I was disappointed. And, the one thing I'm excited about this new park, it's fun. I like when going to things because so many things are projected on screens and it's like they just deteriorate over time. Like the Simpsons ride now is not as good as it was. I like going on things like when they're fresh, like this the Seven Dwarfs minecart ride, or I like this stuff when it's like the brand new. The robots are working; they're not like winking at you and
their head is at a 90-degree angle from what it should be.
Yeah, it's everything's fresh, everything's new. But I'm concerned about people. And I hate people.
There's the real monsters.
I hate
Forget
people.
about Frankenstein's castle. The real monsters are on the ride, not in the ride.
I'm always like, I want to get out of my apartment. I want to be a part of things. I want to get out there. I want to have fun. I want to see the world. I want to socialize. I was in the diner this morning. I hated 2 different tables. The guy next to me was talking nonstop, and I'm always thinking like, oh, I have so much empathy for the other person.
What was he talking about?
I mean, I swear I walk into this diner and I hear the word studio come from every table. Like everyone's just talking business
Well, it's across from the studio, right?
It's across from Universal. But, and the other guy, he's talking to somebody on his phone on speaker right next to me. And I really want to pull a Larry David and just like stand up and be like, what are you doing? Just put it up to your ear.
You know, we're all hearing your conversation, whoever's on the other. I had to take my car to the dealership last week, and I waited. They had a lounge. I was like, I'll go sit in this, just supposed to be like a quiet little place. It's like on the second floor, kind of overlooking, very nice. It's at the windows. What's the word? A solitary space, a quiet. This asshole, first off, there's tables with like 2 chairs, a bunch of those. So like you could sit and put your little shit on it. There's a little Starbucks downstairs. You get a little Starbucks, whatever. This asshole, first off, he puts his feet up on the table that people eat at in a public spot. And then on top of it, he's talking at the top of his goddamn lungs to 2 assholes who he's FaceTiming, 2 women who are like his family members, probably a wife and some type of daughter situation. This guy's like, I don't know, 70 something. It's like, Jesus Christ. Would you put your feet up on your dining room table at your house?
It's weird.
Like,
do you go to the movies?
Not anymore.
I'm thinking like I need to start just doing Alamo Drafthouse or something because they have or New Beverly where they have these really strict etiquette rules.
There's still going to be people there. There's still people
go out to the movies and they don't. I feel like we're 2 old men right now bitching and moaning about this, that, and the other thing. But
that's why the 20-year-olds listening to this are like, "That's never going to be me, boy."
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know.
But the movies is bad.
You don't know how hard it is to get to be 50 years old. That's what they don't know when they're like.
Well,
I don't
know how you felt during your time as being like,
youthful.
We are like icons to a generation once removed. So like everybody who loves us and loves our show is 10 years younger than us. And if you look at our demographics of who's listening to this podcast, it's 35 to 45. And the second demographic is 25 to 35. So, and the third demographic is 55 to 65. Or 45 to 55.
I'm shooting for the 80 plus demo.
Well, the thing is that I'm always making content for people who are 10 years younger than me. So they love it if I'm talking about a Goofy movie or Tailspin or something, which I don't, I like Goofy movie, but I never watched Tailspin. But I'd had to shift my references to please them because they're all 90s kids.
They're making you bend the knee.
But the thing is I'm an 80s kid. I love celebrating my childhood and where I came from. So I'm always kind of like, there's always like a communication breakdown.
You would talk about the Muppets, not the Goofy movie.
Yeah. But I mean, Muppets have made a comeback, but in my mind anyhow. But yeah, I feel like it's always so weird trying to entertain people who have no idea what I'm talking about for the most part. And I'm like, why have you been listening to my music this whole time when you don't get the references?
Well, maybe it's inspiring.
Well,
that's why I like to talk about people like Sid Caesar and Mabel King. Maybe one person will Wikipedia why they're...
I love that. One of the things I love about you is that you always have one foot in the past, and I feel like when people like you leave us, that world is dead. That world is dead. You are actually keeping this great world alive, and it's one of the things I love about Hollywood is its past. And one thing I love about living in the Valley is that I am a couple blocks away from where they filmed Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. And I'm right by a studio, and they made the Muppet movie there, and Seinfeld, and Roseanne, and the Addams Family, and all the 60s TV shows. And
all those Mary Tyler Moore.
Get Smart, WKRP, all this stuff. And I love just being close to it, in close proximity to it. So I love the old world. But another thing I feel is that, like, I taught a lot of kids in, like, the early 2000s, that like being a nerd is okay and loving nerdy stuff is okay. And then it became like a real mass thing where everybody was doing that. And it wasn't that big of a deal. But there was a time where I was literally telling people it's okay to be a nerd because I felt like it needed to be said. Now I feel like I want to say it's okay to age, to get old, to have your body break down right before your very eyes. It's not just something that you're like removed from and you're like, I mean, I love young people because they have no idea what time is going to do to them. I sometimes see the fat people that people will become. Like, I feel like I'm kind of a psychic.
Get out of that Burger King drive-thru, buddy.
Not even that. I'm just like people who are like beautiful, no body fat, living their life. I'm just like, it can happen to you too.
Oh yeah, well that's like also like a way to not get too. You like see some real pretty lady, and then you'd be like, I bet she has ugly feet, or some some like thing to make her not as attractive to you.
I don't do that. I just know that like time.
You're gonna be so fat.
Time finds us all is kind of a big thought in my head. It's like people think that it's really hard to be a rapper turning 50. I mean, I think of like this Super Bowl halftime show where they brought out all the old rappers and they're all rapping. And I'm thinking like, these guys are probably feeling tired.
Yeah, and nobody, for that 3-minute rap they had to do.
3-minute rap they had to do. Or I'll see somebody that I loved in high school like rapping and I'll be like, oh, they don't sound as good and they sound a little older. It's just like time finds us all.
Yeah.
But, you can't just go off and hide and say, okay, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be a part of existence anymore because I'm not a beautiful 22-year-old.
Yeah. That's what Brooks and our theory is, at least as we were always in the theater, of being a character actor. The guy you want to be is Abe Vigoda. Abe Vigoda looked like he was 82 years old since the time he was about 27. He looked old as fuck in Barney Miller. He looked old in The Godfather, and I think when he was in those movies, he was in that show, he was like in his 30s.
And then he ended his career like just being on Conan all the time.
Yeah, and he would be at the Friars Club roast.
That was a great career.
Yeah, just like
you always got to be around.
He basically grew into what the joke was, that he just looked like this old ass dude.
But I feel like that's the human experience. It's like, you're young, it's great, but you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea like how your body will start to break down or your mind will start to break down. Or, I mean, I think everyone's really into multiple universes or alternate timelines, or we're on the wrong timeline because of things are not going how we wanted them to go. We don't need to get into it. But you feel like, oh, we've actually made a wrong turn and we're experiencing the wrong timeline. And we see all this in our fiction and our science fiction and superhero movies and stuff like that. We see that because we're actually experiencing life and we're finding out that some of our choices were the wrong ones.
Have consequences?
Yes.
You mean there's like some dude walking around who's like, man, if I just hadn't asked Shirley to the prom, I would be, but to me, Roger Fitzsimmons, who asked Shirley to the prom and then my life was ruined.
Yeah.
The other Roger Fitzsimmons, that fucker's living the life of 10 men in this alternate universe that I should have been in.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm picking cans out of this Neat Freaks recycling bin that he luckily washed all the cups.
I mean, I feel that way about leaving Adult Swim. Like, I sometimes wish I had never left. But then I see my friends get fired after putting in like a couple decades of work, and I hate that. But then, had I not left Adult Swim, I wouldn't have gone to Skywalker Ranch and got to sleep there and meet George Lucas. And I've had so many crazy things that have happened to me as MC Chris that it's like, it's been really cool and really awesome and really amazing. But also, it's hard to be independent. It's scary to like not know what's going on. But no one ever knows what's going on. And you like, anytime you wish you could have done something differently, or it usually would have turned out to like ruined your life in some way. Like if Maggie and I had sex, back instead of going to our youth counselor and saying, we're so glad we're not having sex right now. Had we had sex,
You have your 4 children.
then we would have been one of those high school couples that stayed in town and,
Never left
Illinois, had a horrible job and hated
happy every day of your life.
Yeah, probably totally happy.
You're running the local recycling plant, the recycling center.
I love separating this plastic.
By the way,
Everything has its place.
speaking of recycling, they gave us the new food bin, that you put the organic stuff in.
I'm not down with that.
A lot of people are.
I just don't want to lift the lid and smell the rotting food.
I know, but it's got that. But you just do it outside and just dump it away, or do it quickly. Put it in, and then immediately
So you're taking your chicken bones and you're
putting them in.
You're doing that.
I mean, what else do you have?
It's going to be law soon.
They sent that little card. What I was surprised. So for people who don't know, we have 3 bins here: the black one for garbage, the blue for recycling, and the green for organics. Finally cleared it up for me. The oily, sweaty little pizza box from when you have your pizza, that goes in the green bin.
So are you ripping your pizza box in half like you're supposed to do?
No.
Did you know that?
No.
Half of it goes in blue, half of it goes in green.
Whole thing. If there's any food,
you're fucking with the earth.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at I got the new thing they put in that little food bin. It says exactly what to put.
Do you feel like recycling is a scam? Because a lot of people say it's something created by petroleum companies to make us buy plastic.
Well, there's too many. No, come on.
No?
Why would they? I mean, why would I? It doesn't encourage me to buy plastic. I mean, I think
you can't help but buy plastic.
Yeah,
it's
the petroleum
it's coming into
companies
your
are
life.
doing just fine. This whole fucking room is plastic.
Hey, so this is MC. If you'd like to advertise on our podcast, please write us at mattersnotpod@gmail.com. We also have a GoFundMe. All of that can be found on our Linktree, linktr.ee/mattersnotpod. Please make a donation. Help me pay for Dana's beverages. Help us pay for studio time and the art. And if we make enough money, we can hopefully start doing video and do all kinds of cool things. Please support us if you can, or advertise on our podcast by writing us at mattersnotpod, mattersnotpod @gmail.com. Can we talk about microplastics? When I bought this water this morning at 7-Eleven, and it's one of those big ones, the guy's like, for a penny more, you can have 2 of these. I'm like, you trying to kill me with the microplastics? And I read yesterday that the best way to get microplastics out of your life is to stop drinking bottled water.
Well, there
because
you go.
It's the bottles that are putting all the microplastics into your brain and your heart and in your body. And I looked up, okay, what's the big deal with microplastics? I always have this philosophy that, like, my body's amazing. It's this it's this miracle. It's going to shit out what it doesn't need. And but no, I guess I'm loaded with microplastics, and I guess it's going to give me 5 different kinds of cancer, and it's going to give me brain cancer.
I swapped out all my Rubbermaid. I now have all glass, which is twofold. I mean, I guess you reuse the Rubbermaid ones.
I miss the Corningware. Is that what you're doing?
Like
is that got the glass top to the pots?
It's still like you know the story of Corning, New York, by the way?
Tell it.
It was set up originally as a utopian society.
Love those.
And then, of course, as with most, the leader, there were challenges to leadership. This like 18 something, like either right before or right after the Civil War.
Did the main guy have like 12 wives?
Started fucking everybody. Yes, of course. Started fucking everybody. Everybody started fighting with each other. This is what happens
with every utopia. One guy's going to be like, I bet I can fuck 12 people at once.
Wait a minute. Ew. You know that Gertrude over there is pretty nice.
I'd like to see what she can do with a cheese sandwich.
Their product they made was this Corningware, or what became known as Corningware. That was like what they did to make money while they were living in their weird community, utopian community.
Utopian communities make good shit.
Yeah, there's a podcast that's all about utopian societies and how every one of them has failed.
So when you were a kid in Vegas and you moved from the apartment to the new house, and what did you make friends right away? Were you a solitary kid? Were you watching TV all the time?
No. I mean, there were kids that lived next door, and like the older kid was a little bit younger than I was. It was like an order of age was me, Wesley, my brother, me, Will, my brother, and then Wesley. Wesley was like the littlest. My brother was the second. But
Will and Wesley were next door.
Yes. The Bear boys. Will Bear and Wes Bear. Bayer, like the aspirin.
We
played with them all the time. We'd make movies. We would do fake Disney rides. Like we had a wagon, so we would like set shit up in the backyard of like.
That's cool.
I would always at the pool because I was the oldest, but pool by the little scenery we had made, and then go into their backyard and like we'd make a little fake jungle cruise or stuff like that.
It's funny how inventive. We were kind of talking about this last week, but how inventive kids were. We had a newspaper. We had our own.
Mm-hmm.
We had our own Olympics.
The Olympics.
We created so many things that were from nothing.
Did you ever have that? It was a Fisher-Price, which had almost all the best toys. It was a printing kit. And it had like a little row that it came with basically rubber stamps, but they were put into this thing that then they would be perfectly lined up and straight, so you could like make your own flyers and newspapers and all that kind of stuff. They had a lot of cool stuff.
We had a typewriter.
Like
My mom had a typewriter.
That's cool.
And so we would type up the newspaper, and I got to draw the pictures. I remember drawing a picture of like a space shuttle.
And then how did you duplicate them?
I think we'd send it to Dad, or we'd have Dad take it with him to work. My dad would come home from work, and he would just open up his briefcase, and we'd just take out all the pens and the paper and the graph paper. It was basically like
he was funneling from the company.
He was stealing office supplies and giving us the pens. I mean, maybe he didn't intend for that to happen, but I mean, you gave us a piece of graph paper, and we were so entertained filling in each square with Crayola markers.
My dad used to do that too. Because he was an architect, so he would bring home those reams of like big paper, like blueprint size.
I love those and all those plastic. Speaking of plastic, just like I don't know what you'd call them, but they'd have like shapes in them.
Templates with like the curves,
and it would have curves and a ruler on one side and little circles, and you just like got to make all kinds of designs with these things.
What's that thing called? Is it the Rhodian curve? Is that what it is? It looks like a nautilus, but like it's the theory's like each curve is half of the one before it until it. You know what I'm talking about?
I feel that one thing I like about you, Dana, one of the many things I like about you is that if you have an audience, you forget about the podcast and you just want to make the person who's in close vicinity to you, you want to make sure that they're smiling and happy.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you are a born, I don't want to say people pleaser, but just an entertainer. You got to entertain you. If it's the waiter coming up to you, if it's the person you're on the phone with.
That's why we're here, right? Make people a little happier.
Is that why we're here?
Yeah.
Is that how you look at life? Like this is my purpose on life, on Earth, is to entertain others?
Well, leave it a little nicer. You've washed your sauce cups. That's how you're doing it.
Well, I mean, I try to make sure, I've started to look at my presence online and my presence in like the media landscape as being like, I want to be a respite. I want to be a place where people don't have to deal with everything because there's a lot to deal with. And I want that with the podcast. I want that with my online presence. And because I feel like there's so much clamor and clang.
That's for sure. That's just nice. It is nice in this room that no one can see. It's a windowless room, which frequently sounds like it's going to be a crazy house. It's a place that would drive you nuts. But it's nice and quiet. You're not reminded of the outside world.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's like a deprivation tank.
Basically, it's like an escape room that there's no solution for. Time is on
There's
the
a guy
time
who started a
lock.
business. It was the just stay in the room.
That's right.
And it didn't go very far.
Is this escape room? Nope, just room.
Just stay.
Come on in.
Just stay here.
Yeah. How do we get out? Nope.
No, I'm sorry.
I didn't
You're
go
a
that
sex
far.
slave now.
We ran out of. I ran out of investors, so I just got the in part. I didn't develop the escape part.
Do you have any kind of philosophy about your work or your doing cons? Are you just always kind of like meeting the moment, living day to day, living in the moment, or do you have kind of a philosophy?
I don't think I have a philosophy.
No.
Other than when driving, I think it's just be nice to people.
You believe in defensive driving? I feel like you're either a defensive driver or an offensive driver, like whether you're in or out of the car. You're like either like preparing for everyone else's idiocy, or you are like an idiot yourself causing havoc.
I think you can be both. I think you can be omnivorous. Not just if defensive is vegan and aggressive is
Took me a second.
Pure carnivore. You can be both. First off, everybody's been on an idiot on the road at some point. It's
I'm often getting honked at.
It's like, it's no question. Everybody has done something because it's a sliding scale. You know, it's like that George Carlin thing when he's like, did you ever notice everyone driving slower than you is an asshole and everyone driving faster than you is a maniac? Well, yes, but, you know, that's kind of it.
My life is
very rarely on the road do you see another car like, now that guy's really doing it. Look at how he made that lane change.
Are you just doing George Carlin's material?
No, but I'm saying he had the thing, but I'm saying like sometimes you'd be like, this guy, all right, this
is your own material?
I'm saying George Carlin said he had a whole thing about.
Did you say this guy's doing it right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, like this.
This is a Dana original.
I'll be on the road with you. I would like when it's apocalypse time. Like, all right, who else do you want riding on the road with you?
I'm always on tour in a city. Have no idea what I'm doing. It looks like spaghetti to me. Like if you're in Dallas or something.
Oh yeah,
where you see these humongous spaghetti junctions.
Texas is very strange with their roads and like those weird. You have to make a U-turn under the overpass. You know what I mean?
And then I almost called it MapQuest. And then the Google Maps is like has a lag, so you're just finding out what you should have done a second later. And oftentimes I'm yelling out the window. It's not my fault. It's the computer.
I remember we were driving in Europe, which was a whole other level of things, because a lot of times you'll get to these tiny towns and all of a sudden it's not allowed to be cars.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah. You're driving on a sidewalk.
Oh God, there was no sidewalk. It was all sidewalk. It was like just cobblestone. I'm like, I'm following GPS and everybody's like, who is this asshole?
Was ist das?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was nerve-wracking.
Do you remember your first trip overseas?
Sure. The first time I went with my parents, we went to Italy. And in fact, we went this past summer, everybody, my brother, his family, my parents, we reproduced a photo my brother and I had taken at the Vatican in the same spot, in our same position for 27 years later. Terrifying. My brother had dreadlocks back then because, he was cool and he had a Walkman of some type. Mm. We were in Italy for like 2 weeks, never took his headphones off. We're literally looking at the Pope. No headphones off. I'm like, Mike, the Pope. He's like, eh. And I do remember.
Get up, stand up.
Yeah. We went to the cafeteria in the Vatican Museum, and my parents were not there. They went somewhere like, we're going to go grab a snack or something. And I got a box of wine, and I smoked cigarettes because we could. Inside the Vatican. There was something very attractive to me about smoking a cigarette in the Vatican.
God's like, light up.
Yeah. Oh, it was everywhere. Then I watched that movie Conclave, that came out. I know we got to wrap it up, but they showed the scenes of all the
priests smoking.
Yeah, like cigarette butts all over the place. Like, well, what else they got to do?
I love it when priests are nuns, and then you find out that they're people.
Yeah. I feel like always the best guy playing a priest is when Robert De Niro would play a priest. Because he'd always smoke, but you could tell he liked the kids. Like he was nice to the kids.
Are you thinking of We're No Angels?
No,
he was pretending to be a priest.
No, I'm thinking of, wasn't he like the priest in Rounders? Who was like, guys, you got to get your shit together. He's been a couple times.
Yeah, he's done it all.
Speaking of We're No Angels, I was thinking about the untimely demise of Robbie Coltrane. And
was it untimely?
Yeah, well, he wasn't that old.
How old was he?
Probably in his early 70s.
That's
maybe
old.
Late 60s.
That's dying time.
Okay. Call me when you're 72 and say, you ready to go now? You did say this is perfectly fine.
Well, I just based this on my dad who passed at 71.
Yeah, I mean, that's young. I mean, it's not young, but it's young
young for death years.
You're just barely a senior.
Other seniors are laughing at you and calling you a pussy.
Yeah. They're dancing on your grave, laughing about it. You didn't even start wearing really like old guy clothes yet. What about, yeah. Anyway, he did the movie Nuns on the Run, where he and Eric Idle were playing nuns. About the same time of We're No Angels with Sean Penn and Robert De Niro, right? Yeah. I
like that Britain or England, it feels like everybody went to the same theater. And everybody was part of the same theater group. It's not true, but sometimes you'll see like a group picture, and 5 of the faces will be like the only British actors.
Yeah, I mean, you still do that. Like you look at everyone who's on movies and all that thing. Like they're all in plays with each other back in the day.
They all were in a dorm,
UK, and they still do.
They all were in a dorm together.
You watch that. Sometimes I watch National Theatre at Home, right? It's like the British theater, but they do like you can download and watch them.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
It's online.
I like watching plays.
They're great
on TV,
and they shoot them well. Like that's the difference.
I feel like it's not well. That's something that's just not available.
Yeah, not here.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't.
American Playhouse on PBS used to be a thing. Like, you get to watch.
But again, if you notice, 99 times out of 100 on those like great performances and stuff, it'll be the UK version of Kiss Me Kate. Same production, same design, but it wouldn't be the Broadway stars. It would be the UK ones because of some union thing with Equity. That's the Stage Actors Union. There's something like you can't broadcast your performance.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall in like the pubs for like, what's the guy who played House, the doctor?
Oh, Hugh Laurie?
Hugh Laurie, yeah. And he was like tight with another. He had a show with the other British guy.
Oh,
who played?
Is that something in Worcester?
I can't think of it, but I mean, I just imagine all these people drinking and Emma Thompson being there, and
oh yeah,
like they're all just drunk.
You're late on your cue, Hugh. You piece of shit! Don't do that again.
Or just these guys. They all used to be young. It was great. I felt like she was here.
One of the cool things on that National Theatre at Home is they did the 50th anniversary of it, which had happened years earlier. But they had all these alumni of the National Theatre do either monologues or scenes from iconic moments in their 50-year history. So, Helen Mirren did her scene from Long Day's Journey into Night, and what's her name? She couldn't even see when she did it. She was blind. What the hell was her name? She was married to
Laurence
Olivier.
Yeah.
What's her name?
She was Mrs. From Dennis the Menace. She was the mom. I can't say.
Oh, like in the movie version.
Yeah.
With Walter. Yeah, okay. So she was famous back in the day for St. Joan, right? but she did her monologue in it. Blind.
Joan Plowright.
There you go.
Boom.
Very good. Good pull.
I kill at Jeopardy.
She did her monologue from St. Joan, and she just had a chair because she was blind, but she wanted to be. It's amazing. You're like, she's just saying words, and yet somehow there's so much meaning. She's not doing all this shit on top of it, gesticulating and waving her body around.
You know what I like about British people is that we in America will cast you, if you are a British actor, to play an American because we love secretly knowing how smart you are, even though we only think you're smart because you have a British accent.
Yeah. And then I think sometimes they'll do like, but this guy's too smart. I'm going to dumb him down by making him use an American accent. So he has to think a little bit instead of just so easily, seamlessly.
I just feel like American casting agents are just, if someone walks in with a British accent, they're like, you got it. Yeah. It's yours. I don't know. I have no defense here.
Doesn't everybody do that? I mean, if we walked in right now, some guy walked in like, I'm here to use the studio.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, British guy, get the hell out of here. Unless it's like the Cockney dudes, what do you call them? The soccer hooligans, the hooligans.
Yeah. You go to England and you find out not everybody is this refined.
It's like everywhere.
Gentleman.
It's weird to think all of these slobby, disgusting Americans you see in other countries, because when you see foreigners here in America, they're the ones who are allowed and able to get out of their own country to go visit other places. Then you go there and you're like, wow, there's a lot of fucked up Belgian people. Like, look at these like slobs over here. They're not all
everything's
cool.
A misconception.
Yeah, you're seeing like the best versions of them when they're visiting you.
My mom, at the end of the day, she would wash dishes. She'd, get the kitchen all straightened out. We'd all be all cleaned up in bed. Sometimes we'd sneak down or something, or we'd need something. And she'd be curled up with a cup of tea watching Masterpiece Theater on PBS.
It's very sweet.
And I like this idea that she had this secret life. At the end of the day, when everybody was unconscious, she could pretend she was British, living in a castle.
It's my me time.
Loving some man who she's not supposed to love.
She married a lord.
Yeah.
Lord.
She got to have this private little intelligent time of her day.
You like tea? Well, now you don't drink tea, right? Just hot water?
Yeah. I used to be just nuts about tea, and I had a fan who was, you ever heard of Harney and Sons? He was one of the sons.
Oh.
So he would send me all this tea, and I got to visit the tea factory and smell the bins of tea.
Where is it?
I used to love it. Microplastics are in tea bags. You can't... if I ever go back on the tea train, I can only drink loose tea. But I drink only peppermint tea now, but it comes in these tea bags because I avoid caffeine. But there was a time where I loved tea, and I would get a headache at a certain point. Like I'd crash, have to have another cup of tea. It's like you'd have to feed the habit all day.
Chasing the dragon.
Yeah, and I hated that.
Yeah. I got a whole bunch of tea. I got a whole slew of tea that I love it, but I also like to have it, I want it in my evening. And now I'm like, because it's a whole bunch, it was like a whole little sampler box from this guy. I really like all his little videos. His name, he's like Seth, Mr. T, Seth, whatever his thing is.
I pity the fool who doesn't drink my tea.
It's not Mr. T, T-E-A. That would be the best.
You big dummy. Try my...
I pity the
rooibos.
Who don't brew my rooibos correctly. Fool.
Loose.
But it's all loose. That's good. But I don't have it because I'm worried I'm going to be having all this extra caffeine that's going to keep me up all night.
Yeah. I used to drink more Diet Coke than you do. I used to go through a 24 case in a day.
A day?
A day.
You know who else is like that? Apparently, where did I go? I went to DreamWorks, and every room in DreamWorks has like this, like those plastic bins when they take all the dirty dishes off and put them in with like a bus thing.
I know it well.
There were those bins like literally in every room in the hallway.
Diet Cokes?
Filled with Diet Cokes on ice. I said, what is this? What's with this?
It's a utopian society.
And they're like, oh, They're like, Katzenberg, wherever he is, he wants a Diet Coke. He wants to just get it.
Yeah. Have you been to Coca-Cola World in Atlanta?
Yes, I think I have. That's where they have the polar bear.
It's where you can make your own little soft drinks. You have like this room filled with 50 fountain drinks from all over the world, and you can taste all the different drinks.
The good version, that's the good version
like
of
roulette.
The Club Cool at Epcot.
Yeah.
With the Beverly. That's always that's the famous one in there. The Italian tastes like an aperitif. It's real bitter. Clear.
Diet Coke is like a perfect thing. That's why anytime I try to come up with something like Coke Zero or Diet Coke with Splenda, it just feels like,
doesn't work.
Something's wrong. But there was something about Diet Coke where it's like, I had to have it. Now when I'm at the venue, because I'll start tour with water, and then I'll be like, man, I need something special. Club soda.
Oh,
you can get it from any bar.
Yep.
And it's coming out of the soda gun, which is probably disgusting and filled with the black mold.
But that thing's running nonstop.
Yeah, but you get the club soda, and it's a real treat on tour. And there's nothing to it. And there's nothing going on. Nothing bad's going on. Although I think there's like sodium and.
Yeah, it seems like there's got to be something.
There's nothing's perfect.
But my problem with club soda is it basically has nothing, right? So if I'm paying you, Mr. Barman, if I'm paying you $5 for a Diet Coke, okay, fine.
Usually I get them for free.
Well, that's because you're performing on stage.
But sometimes not. And those are like bad days on tour.
Yeah. Well,
there's got to be some like this bartender who's only following her boss's orders.
Yeah.
But should be like, that's $5.
Yeah.
And I'll still tip them real nice. And so usually I give them $5 tip no matter if they give you something for free, I give them a $5 tip.
My question is, if Diet Coke is $5, why is the club soda also $5? Because it's just devoid this proprietary syrup that I know they're paying through the nose for. Aside from the fact that they say, like, a soda costs them about 2 cents a glass and they're charging you $5. I get it. You got to have a glass and somebody's got to pour it.
Every time someone gives me club soda and they're like, don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I won't worry about it because you've basically handed me nothing.
Yeah. I walked up to you worry-free before I even asked you for this club soda. There was no worries. So you don't have to tell me don't worry about it. I already was not worrying about it. I'm expecting free. I'm getting free. Anyway.
Have you always been on the Diet Coke?
Yeah, I think I have. I like it. I never used to drink coffee. My wife drinks coffee. So
I don't like coffee.
The last couple years, because she will make a thing of coffee, I'm like, all right, have a coffee in the morning. I like the coffee. I like having a little coffee clutch. Whenever we're at certain areas, I like to go and just have like a little, like when I go to a convention, I like to go in the morning and have my little coffee in the
routine,
the little lobby or whatever with my friend. Or if I have like a little sitting room, we'll sit there and have our little coffee in the morning. I like it. I like the conviviality of it.
I think it's unfair that the coffee is in every hotel room. Not always, but like in fancy hotel rooms, there's always like a little Nespresso or something there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how come they aren't catering to my preferences? Where's my complimentary club soda?
Yeah.
Or I'll take a bottle of water. I hate when you roll up into a hotel room and they're like, this bottle of water is going to cost you.
Yeah. And they said it there. Like, oh, thank God. I'm parched since the lobby. Here's that bottle of water. And then you crack it open
$6.
and you see that little thing, $6, you motherfucker.
Or just anytime there's like any kind of mini bar stuff, they're like, here's some M&Ms, here's a bag of popcorn. We actually thought about everything you could possibly want, but it's going to cost 5 times what you would pay if you just go outside.
I love the mini bar. I love everything about it. The only ones I don't like are the ones where you would... Remember there was a little while, like if you picked it up, it would automatically register that you took the soda amazing. Out of the thing.
I get anxiety when I'm watching Home Alone 2 and he's in the Plaza Hotel and he's just like grabbing a handful of cookies, puts it in his pocket. I'm like, that's $100.
Yeah, yeah.
What have you done?
I love the decadence of the mini bar. I love that there's a little bit of everything.
You love eating $20 like M&Ms.
Micro.
You love $20 M&Ms.
Yeah, I do. They taste better.
Because you're drunk.
And they're like little...
You're making bad decisions.
Well, they're always like in some weird little, like I can't remember what... One place, like a chain, has like M&Ms and all that shit, but they like put them in their own little weird like glass bottles to make it more of the perceived value.
The way they trick us is criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up. This has been another wonderful podcast. We are getting great reviews. I'm going to,
But
stick around, everybody. I'm going to read some reviews after our outro music.
Oh.
And let you guys know what is being said. Please write reviews of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Write in the comments, just give me a review. Maybe I'll read it on air.
Listen to the reviews and then realize how you could do a better review than they did by writing your own review. I'm encouraging. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them.
Yes.
Listen to that review.
Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to say your name. And there's nothing better than hearing your name come out of our mouths.
I'm not even going to say your name. I'm going to sing your name.
What?
Professional.
Don't make any promises.
Yeah. I have a BFA in musical theater. I can whip out.
Are you a good singer?
Yes. How about that?
Every time you start singing, I tense up all the muscles in my body.
I just did a cameo this morning that had the highest, craziest quote unquote money note.
Because when you sang Shapoopy last week, I just felt like I
forgot I did
in a horrible situation for a second.
Oh, yeah. That you weren't getting to see the whole number.
Yes. that I didn't get to see you in costume with proper lighting.
Yeah. My Marcellus Washburn. I forgot about that. All right. Forget it. Let's get out of here.
Thank you so much for being here, Dana.
Thank you.
Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, MC. Lowercase.
Okay, so I'm not going to be reading reviews today. That's going to happen on the next episode. But in lieu of reviews, I have a very big announcement. I announced my tour dates for 2025. This summer, I'll be on the road with an amazing rap act out of Florida called Swell Rel. He's just totally awesome. You know, when I pick out these openers, it's like I listen to every local opener all over the country, and I find one person who I feel it really encapsulates what my music is all about and what I think my audience will like. And Swell Rel is really going to be an amazing addition to a long list of amazing openers that I've had over the years. I've introduced you to so many people, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Swell Rel. But the tour dates are up. The ticket links are up. Go to mcchris.com and go check out the tour dates. I'm touring this summer. I'm coming to your town. Or I'm making you very angry because I'm not coming to your town. So go check those out. Go onto my social medias at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. Let me know where you're going. Let me know where I'm not going. And maybe I'll try to remedy the situation. All right, I hope I see you guys this summer. Thank you for listening to None of This Matters. Goodbye.